What's up, guys? I've just finished reading The Talon of Horus by Adam Dembski-Bowden, and it is a great read. I really recommend buying the book and reading it through. The book is action-packed, it's full of lore and background information, and I'm going to read one of my favourite parts of the book, which explains why Abaddon's eyes are golden, how Iskandar Khayon managed to defeat a Space Wolf champion and take his power axe Saern, and lastly, it explains the origins of his wolf-like familiar Gyre. Okay, so here we go. Abaddon is with me. He stands nearby, watching with a commander's patience. He was the one who spoke my name, the wayward warrior I met aboard the vengeful spirit with Telemachon and Leor, not the soldier prince of historical record. He carries no weapon, yet he does not seem unarmed. Threat flows around him in ways I cannot quite discern. He has a dangerous soul. It shows in his smile as well as his golden eyes. "Why are you here?" I ask him, keeping my voice down in case my words attract wolves. "I have been at your side through all of this," he replies. "I witnessed your childhood with Mekari and your years as a legionary of the Thousand Suns. You are only seeing me now. Why? Because this memory matters." He comes to crouch with me. I notice none of the raining dust clings to his armor as it does mine. "This memory defines you more than any other moment in your life, Khayon. A man would not need to be a prophet to know that. Here is where my homeworld died. Here is where Gyre first took the form of a wolf. Here is where I took Saern from the twitching fingers of a 6th Legion champion. Here is the treachery that forced the Thousand Suns to side with rebels and madmen, against ignorance and deception. Here is where I came within hours of my own death, until Leor found me in the ashen ruins. To say this day defines me above any other is hardly a revelation. Perhaps I should be uncomfortable with Abaddon walking alongside me through my mind. The opposite is true. His presence is calming, his pale curiosity infectious. "You keep looking to the west," Abaddon points out. "The city burns no differently there than anywhere else." My tutelary vanished there. "Ah, you're familiar." "No, not here and now. Before Prospero burned, we called them tutelaries. We did not know what they truly were." I say nothing for a time, looking over my many wounds once more. "Why are your eyes gold?" I asked Abaddon. He closes them for a moment, touching his fingertips to them. "I looked into the Astronomicon for a long time, listening to its verses and choruses. The Emperor's light did this to me. Does it hurt?" His answering nod hides more than it reveals. "A little. No one ever said enlightenment came without a cost, Khayon." I look back across the burning street, where a city of scholars is dying to the axes and fires of barbarians. "I hear wolves," he says. "I hear them too. Boots pounding on the white avenue, shattering the marble road. I clutch my knife tighter, waiting. "How many did you kill that day?" Abaddon asks me. Even if the wolves cannot hear him, I say nothing. They will surely be able to hear me. I hear them draw close, stalking, sniffing the air. That's when I move, rising in a snarl of armor joints and dust-shrouded ceramite. My knife takes the first wolf under the chin, punching up through his throat and into his skull. Bless the 6th Legion for going to war without wearing their helms. The others are already moving. Chainswords whine and bolters crunch to shoulder guards. Barbaric threats leave the mouths of ignorant fools. Oaths of vengeance, primal promises. They leap for me the moment I cast their brother's body aside. That is what kills them. No longer do I seek to control the warp's breath, shaping it into precise applications of psychic force. Now I simply let it flow through me. The closest packmate falls to the ground in a boneless topple, decaying inside his armor. The warp's touch has aged him 1,000 years in the span of a single heartbeat. The second ignites in topaz flame, eating his flesh to the bone without even marking his ceramite. The last of them is less hot-blooded. He keeps his bolter on me. I want to tell him that he is a fool, that he and his legion are to blame for all this. I want to tell him that we are not sinners, and that the power we call upon, the powers that we are being judged and sentenced for using, are only brought forth now in the fight to survive. In raising Prospero, the Space Wolves have left us no choice but to commit the very crime they are punishing us for. He fires before I can speak, a kill shot that does not kill, battered aside from my head with a flare of telekinetic instinct. It isn't enough. He bears me down to the ground, and suddenly nothing matters but the knives in our hands. Mine carves into his armpit, caught fast in servos as well as muscle meat. I'm certain his has missed until I feel the pressure of a titan's weight on my stomach. There is no tearing pain when a blade plunges into your flesh. It is a hammer blow, no matter how well you are trained to ignore it and recover. For a moment I bare my teeth behind my faceplate, shaking the knife impaled in his arm, hoping to sever the muscles and steal his strength. The breath from his dirty smile fogs my eye lenses. He leers down at me with a wolf's stare and a man's grin. Retinal warning scream of the damage his knife is doing to my insides. Traitor! The wolf breathes down at me. Filthy traitor! The first mouthful of blood runs up my throat and over my lips, spilling down my cheeks to pool inside my helm. It steals any hope of reply beyond a strained gurgle. Abaddon still stands nearby. I sense him even if I cannot see him. For a moment of blood-stained desperation, I consider demanding that he help me. The very idea turns my gurgling curse into a grin. I do not bother pulling my knife free. My hand crashes down against the side of his head, not to break his skull, but clawing for a fistful of his long, greasy hair. A fist to his head does nothing, and another, and another. On the fourth, I clutch the side of his skull and plunge my thumb into his left eye. The wet crunch is the sweetest sound I have ever heard. He does not cry out or show any pain beyond the way his feral rictus turns to glass. His skull gives a quiet snap, then a louder crack. I am breaking his head apart in my hand, and he refuses to even acknowledge it, no different from a rabid dog with his jaws locked on prey. More blood surges up my throat and runs from my mouth as he cuts me open from groin to sternum. My sight is swimming now, reddened by blood. One-eyed and laughing, the wolf keeps cutting me. I keep bringing up blood into my helm. It sloshes against my face as hot as boiling water. My knuckles clang against his fallen bolter, discarded in the ashes. It takes 3 tries before I clutch it in a sure enough grip, and with trembling fingers I force-feed him the barrel of his own gun. It breaks his teeth on the way in and blows the back of his head apart on the way out. His weight atop me becomes a dead man's embrace. I roll his carcass off, pull the blade from my belly, and disengage my helm to let the blood slap onto the marble avenue beneath me. "How long did you remain on the ground?" Abaddon asked me. "Not long. Already I try to move, trusting my legionary genetics to cope with the disemboweling wound." "Didn't you fight a 6th Legion champion on this day?" Abaddon asks. He follows me down the avenue, his golden eyes shining with amusement at my limp. I nod. "Eyarik, born of fire. He will find me soon, very soon." "And how did you beat him with these wounds?" Distraction and pain prevent the answer. Sealing my wounds requires focus. I do not know how long passes before the shout comes. It chills my blood now just as it did on that distant day. I turn slowly, made now of aches and wounds that will one day become scars. Before me stands an axe-bearer, a warrior of dirty nobility wreathed in a cloak of smoke-stained white fur. Fenrisian runes show gold against his warplates grey. At his side walks a piebald wolf with its fur cast in mismatching patches of brown and grey. The thing is the size of a stallion. For no reason I can understand, I simply say, "Begone." I think it is the best my weary mind can muster. The stomach wound is not the first injury I have suffered today, merely the most grievous. The wolf lord walks closer. No, he prowls, fluid and fierce like the beast at his side. The axe in his hands is a relic of true beauty. For a weary, weary moment I think there are worse deaths than one brought about by that blade. And then he makes the mistake that costs him his life. I am Eyarik, born of fire, he says. Thirsty is my axe for the blood of traitors. Crippled or not, I stand taller. The Fenrisian tongue struggles with Gothic, but adds a grim poetry to the words rather than detracting from them. I am Iskandar Khayon, born of the world you are murdering, and I am no traitor. Save your lies for the black spirits that heed them, sorcerer. He comes closer, smelling my weakness. This will be an execution, not a duel. Above us the sky chokes on the blackness of the burning city. Bolters are a distant, unending staccato. Pyramids that have stood proudly for thousands of years are shattered and brought down by the self-righteousness of barbarians. I am not a traitor. Loud and long do the All-Father's words ring, louder and longer than the death prayer of a traitor. The beautiful axe rises. I do not summon fire from beyond the veil or beg the spirits to aid me. I look at the warrior who would be my executioner, bridge a conduit between our thoughts, and let my bitterness spill forth from my mind into his. My helpless, cornered, kicked dog fury takes root in his heart. The warp itself floods through the bond between us, spilling through his blood and bones, breaking him down at the unseeable level of particles and atomic patterns. He does not just die where he stands. I unmake him, pulling him apart down to his very core. He disintegrates within his armor, flesh turning to dust, so fast that his shade doesn't even realize his body is dead. His ghost claws at me as it dissolves into the warp's winds. My last sight of his spirit shows the incomprehension across his ethereal features. His armor totters forward to crash against the avenue, splitting the marble with a dozen fresh cracks. I hear Abaddon laughing, clapping his gauntleted palms together. Such heroism! He mocks me with a smile. Any sense of victory is short-lived. The huge wolf bears me to the ground in a tumble of wounds and weak limbs. I have no chance to defend myself. Jaws that could swallow my head whole gouge into my breastplate and shoulder guard. Its fangs go through ceramite like iron knives through silk. The thing's weight upon me is the weight of a rhino troop carrier. Armor comes free in a vicious crack, and bloody flesh rips away with it. I am too cold, too sore, to feel it as fresh pain. And then, the wolf stops. It just stops. Standing above me with my blood running from its teeth. The creature's flesh ripples beneath the smoke-stained fur. Lacerations peel open, revealing muscles, bones, and organs. My eyes are wide open when the beast bursts open above me, raining gore in every direction. The pressure against my chest is gone. A shadow of something ghosts away from me, but for several seconds I can do nothing but stare at the sky, needing time to salvage enough strength to rise. The wolf stands several meters away from me, black where its fur had been grey-white, predatory intelligence in its stare where before there had been only bestial cunning. I know that stare, though I have never seen it before. I know the mind behind it. Gyre? The wolf stands to my side, submissive in its greeting. She, and this is the very first time I see Gyre as distinctly, unarguably female, gives a wolfish whine. I feel a flare of wordless devotion from her as the wolf's heart taints the cold geometry of the demon's spirit. From now on she will be neither wolf nor demon, but something of both. A loyal creature, says Abaddon, watching from nearby. 3 thunderhawks scream overhead, their vulture shadows flickering on our armor plating. It saved your life. She, I told him. Not it. She. Wow, what a battle. Like I said, guys, this book is full of action and lore and really shows us that Iskandar Khayon is an absolute badass. So after defeating Eyarik, born of fire, Khayon takes his axe Saern for his own, and his familiar Gyre takes on many aspects of a Fenrisian wolf. Pretty interesting. What do you guys think? Is Khayon one of the best Thousand Sons, or do you think he only beat the Space Wolves thanks to him being a Psyker? Who's tougher, Azek Araman or Iskandar Khayon? Which one would win in a fight? Leave your comments below, and thanks for watching.